That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Moon Garden, which is the sophomore film directed by Ryan Stevens Harris, which premiered at the 2022 Dance with Films Festival. It is being released courtesy of Oscilloscope on May 19th, 2023.
Ryan's first film?
Second, sophomore.
No, what was his first film?
Something called Virus X from 2010 that I don't believe is well regarded. He has worked as an editor on many other film productions, including another, it's going to sound thematic, the Halle Berry-led Moonfall.
Oh. The story, a comatose 5-year-old girl journeys through an industrial wonderland to find her way back to consciousness. That's basically it. She does wake up from the coma. And she gets into a coma because she falls down some stairs and hits her head. Overall, I was impressed by the visuals.
This seemed like if Tim Burton was now operating without any money, is how this film...
And did, like, if you mix Wizard of Oz with Insidious, and then, like, Skinamarink.
It reminded me of all of those films about a child being transported, like Labyrinth, Pinocchio even, going on kind of an epic journey, if you will, with that's related to events that have happened in their life.
It feels like a lot of things. Like watching it, I was it's reminiscent of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I do feel like the visuals are what leads this film.
The production design is
more than the story. Yeah. So this little girl, she's 5.
She's Emma. She's played by Haven Lee Harris. And she previously played the same character in his 2017 short, Every Dream is a Child with Teeth. So she was even younger in that.
Oh, wow. I was impressed by this little girl. She's she's carrying this movie.
Oh, for sure.
And, I mean, I can only imagine, like, to direct a small kid to do so much. It's impressive.
I agree. It makes sense that she was in the short, so I'm sure that they're comfortable working together. So how how you get a child's performance is different than an adult's. So how they were able to motivate her and I don't know. And the fall down the stairs, I think it makes sense that he's an editor because I thought that was edited well.
Yeah. Okay, so her parents are played by
Augie Duke and Brionne Davis. I'm familiar with Mr. Davis's work.
So the opening of the film is the mom is like trying to escape, like in the like sleeping with the enemy. She grabs the daughter, gets into the car, and it's like, okay, we gotta go. And then, so of course, as the audience, we're like, oh, she's in an abusive relationship and she's finally leaving. But as she's in the car in the garage, before she puts that thing in reverse and backs out, she starts to break down and cry. Mm-hmm. And then who busts into the garage? Her husband.
And she didn't lock the doors to the car.
So he snatches the keys, snatches the kid, and goes back inside, and then they start arguing. Mm-hmm. But it becomes very clear, to me at least, you can concur, that I don't think this was so much an abusive relationship. I think that the mom has like mental health issues.
I think that her husband was no longer able to give her what she needed, i.e. he had some busy job working from home and then was additionally working on his novel and thus had no time for her, and she didn't like that.
So they're arguing, and then the daughter gets up out of bed and is telling them, like, stop this, and then she storms off and slips on like a toy, and that's why she falls down the stairs. So, okay, my first note was, I'm a little confused. So throughout because almost the entire film is this little girl in the coma. And so it's like her visions of what's happening, like from a child's mind. We also get, because she's actually laying in a hospital bed, right? Mm-hmm. So we can hear kind of like...
paramedics.
Yeah, you hear like in the background as this little girl's navigating this fantasy land, like her parents, the doctors talking about her. But the mom... Like, it makes sense to me that there are some scary things in this young girl's life that affect her dream state, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the mom, the way she's styled, first of all, she's definitely going on my 2023 list for worst hair. She has, like, this bob with short bangs, and then in some light it looks like she's blonde with, like, copper lowlights, and then in some light it looks like she's just, like, strawberry blonde. It looks terrible, and then her makeup's garish.
I don't know why she insists on having, or somebody insisted on having her this blue eyeliner in every scene.
So
At least Brionne Davis, we're showing like a fluctuation in time period, so facial hair changes. Like
they actually do well with him, although like they do make the dad look very different from flashback to present. But then the problem is the little girl is the same. So, but the mom, I don't know if they were trying to demonstrate that maybe she's, mentally ill.
I think so. Well, she doesn't recognize that her face structure doesn't really support that haircut either. But she to me looked like immediately. I'm like, oh, a frazzled Radha Mitchell or Fairuza Balk.
Yeah.
And not in a way that also is kind of monotonous because it's pretty one note. She just seems she needs some help that is not being provided at home.
So we learn some things about this family as we go through the coma because little things happen. So the main thing propelling the girl in her fantasy state, or whatever they're calling it, her industrial wonderland, is that
Alice in Wonderland's another reference.
Yes, is that she meets a person, this man playing, I think, a piano in her wonderland, and she says, "I need to call my parents." Okay, well, you can't do that here, but I really need to call my parents. Well, the only way to do that is you have to go up high.
And he gives her a radio, right?
He gives her a radio, and then that's how she's sort of listening, communicating. And so her journey in this wonderland is that she needs to get up high, and she meets a couple people who help her, including a woman at the end who I actually thought was probably my favorite character.
The princess?
The one with the British accent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But of course there has to be like a villain or a scary thing. So there's this creature that kind of looks like, what's the like superhero movie that has Patrick Wilson and there's a character with
Watchmen?
Yes, and there's a character with the wrapped face that like his mouth
Isn't that Jackie Earle Haley?
Yes. That whatever that character is.
Rorschach?
Rorschach. This character looks like Rorschach, except that its face is a hole and it takes out its teeth all the time.
And you see it tear out the hole, which what he's able to accomplish with the effects and the production
is impressive.
Are impressive. And it has these teeth that look like gnarled dentures that are just kind of floating free floating in the center of this hole of a face.
It looked really cool.
It did. So this creature's chasing her. But I think my favorite scene of the film is this animated sequence where we are introduced to this character of the princess and this three-headed red portrait where this woman is narrating this story to this little girl about this fairy tale about this woman who's the king and queen die and she's left alone without joy, and so she steals all the joy from the children in the kingdom, and that was pretty creepy.
Yeah. My final note is, I think, getting back to the mom, she likes to sing to her daughter, and she sings that song Without You.
Harry Nelson's. Mm-hmm.
And it's not music to my ears, and it's repetitive, so I felt like that was a little heavy-handed. Overall, though, I would recommend this movie because I think the visuals are very impressive.
It's also, if you listen to the lyrics, and kind of a weird
song for a mom to sing her daughter. But there are deficiencies. While I'm very impressed by the young girl, that's a lot of acting for a kid to do, and I do feel like there are times when it feels like, oh, they really had to work to get this shot done. Maybe I found the mom kind of distracting.
I think the mother's performance is it's not that the actor is bad. I think that there needed to be something allowing for some dimension from her.
And while this film references or is reminiscent of a lot of really cool stuff, I don't feel like the wonderland that's created is that sort of magical or haunting, or it looks cool, but I was more impressed with how everything looked than what I was feeling and what was happening.
It looked really good, and I think that animated scene really goes a long way.
It does.
Yeah.
I would watch this person's next movie.
Oh, definitely. It kind of reminds me of how the man who did Terrifier was able to kind of do a lot with not very much. But
what would you give this movie?
2.5. I
would give it 2.5 out of 5 as well. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.